maybe should be YouTube.
Yeah. Hello Facebook world. Hello IX ambassadors. Good Wednesday afternoon to you. This is Meg Mankey coming at you live from the HOA Hub of Awesomeness. Rachel Headley is in Germany right now, singing or visiting, or we're not really sure, but she's not here. And so you get me today, all day. But before we start, I'm going to say goodbye to the wonderful woman who's here helping us with our stuff. So just hold on 1 second. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you for coming over.
Thanks, ladies.
Okay, so Kelsey's on her way out. If you need any free promo, if you need any marketing, website design, website consulting, I don't know, life help, Kelsey Rosiska, Moxie Marketing of the Midwest is the gal to contact. Oh, Rachel joined. Hi. Hi, I hope you're so great. We have an international crowd today, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so Shelly gave me a list of all the things I'm going to talk about today, and this is why I love her. Okay, what am I going to do? Rachel's in Germany. See, I already was doing the one thing that I was supposed to. Oh, good, you can hear me. I just thought about that. Okay. Hey, we're going to be sending out a link to our IXAF class that is going to be starting soon. The link will be to sign up for the webinar, to learn more about what all is going, all the magic that's going to happen in the class. So if you want to lead a more authentic lifestyle, if you want to feel like you're better at handling situations than you have in the past, particularly situations that involve conflict and ugliness and extra heart palpitations, if you want to be regarded as an expert when it comes to leadership and cutting edge and super smart, then you should definitely sign up for the webinar, because you'll get to learn more about that. The sign up for the webinar is free. It doesn't cost you anything. To learn more about IXAF, IXAF stands for Internal Experience Ambassador Facilitator, meaning you can go spread the goodness of IX everywhere. So that link is going to be coming to you real soon to sign up for the webinar. The actual IXAF, the first set of classes will start around the 3rd of June. You will notice, because I'm an independent, I said around the 3rd of June. Now, if it were Shelly or other, it is going to be the 3rd of June. If you were Shelly or other order tolerant people, you would say on the 3rd of June. I like to use the word around the 3rd of June. There are only 15 spots open for this program, and so if you're going to sign, we already have a set of, I don't know, about a third of the class is full. I'm going to let you do that simple math. But if you want in, you better sign up for this webinar real quick. Rachel is having her project management class in the week of May 20th. Is that the right date? Mm-hmm. Yeah, week of May 20th. The first 2 days is one class all about project management. The last 3 days is about guiding organizational change. I have participated, audited both classes. They are incredible. And, I'm an HR person, quote unquote, not a project manager person. So in the event that you're thinking that doesn't apply to me, I would encourage you to not think that. The link to learn more about the project management class and register for it is, it's everywhere. I don't know, but we will post it. We'll repost it so it's back to the top of the feed in IX Ambassadors. Well, Shelly's probably going to do it while I'm talking. Again, Shelly is magical. Oh, Malik, yes, the webinar is a webinar about our IX certification courses. And so you will be getting a link soon, and it'll be on Facebook and on LinkedIn and everywhere we are. So you can find that link and then sign up for the webinar to learn more about our certification courses. And what else am I supposed to say? Oh, I'm going to be in Rapid next week. Shout out to, what? Oh, I'm going to be in Rapid a couple times next week. Okay, I'm going to be on the radio next week, and then I'm going to be on KOTA noon news or something. It's called something like that. That's on Monday. So if you are an avid watcher of local television, then you should check in to KOTA on noon. You will get to see me on noon, at noon. And then on the 15th, Shelly and I are headed to Rapid again to go to the Black Hills Leadership Development luncheon learn. And man, I spoke at that last week. Last month. It's an incredible group of business professionals in the Rapid City area. So if you haven't had a chance to partake in one of those, I would encourage you to do it. This is the last one until the fall because they follow a school calendar. So Black Hills Leadership Development, they have a Facebook page. You should find them. You should come to the event because it's awesome and you get to hang out with me. I think that is all the announcements. My personal announcement is that it is snowing in Spearfish and it makes me want to cry actual tears. I'm over it. My other announcement is I have an IT band injury and I haven't been running very much lately and it hurts my heart. But it's better than it was last week because last week I was really being whiny because it really hurt. Okay. Does anybody have any other announcements? If you have other things that we should be talking about, put them in the comments and I will keep an eye on those and I will make sure to say the things. Well, then I think other people get to see your comments too, so that's cool. So Shelly, who is now, maybe this is another announcement we need to make. Shelly, who is our GM, is now, we're transitioning the management of our Facebook group over to Shelly from Michelle. Michelle Stampy, who is our book author. Or wait, are you the book writer? She's a book writer. She always corrects me about that. Michelle, who is awesome and amazing and we love her, is moving on to do so many incredible things with her talent as a book writer that she has knighted Shelly, the official holder of the Facebook group management. And Shelly decided to put out there an opportunity for anybody to ask questions this week for the live. And of course, we didn't get any. So we made up our own. We didn't really make them up. They're from other people, but they just weren't in the feed. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. The kind of the theme of the questions that we had come through as Shelly and I were talking about what was going to be the topic for the day are twofold. And I think it's really fitting actually for this time of the year because in the spring we're all kind of anxious and want to get outside or do spring cleaning or make a change, even those of us who don't love change or, pretty excited, ready for a new season. And both of these questions are kind of about seasons in your life or how the heck am I going to handle something that's new? So the first one is we had a great question about work-life balance. And we have, it's all, as a lot of you know, we have It's All Life Sundays. And so there is no such thing as work-life balance in this new day and age where you can work remotely and you can have 3 jobs and be doing one on your phone while you're taking an order for someone at a restaurant. Not really. That would be bad customer service. And we would have to help you with that. But figuratively speaking, we can be way too busy. I think I would argue maybe we can be even way too busier than we used to be, or at least in a different way. And so how do we work through that, the reality that I still feel too busy or like I'm not doing enough of lifing and doing too much of the working? And the other topic is really around managing up. So I read your book, Meg. This book on IX leadership is really cool. And now I know I'm an organizer, and that's why my fixer boss drives me crazy. But that doesn't fix my fixer boss. That just makes me maybe a little more crazy because I don't know how now to do anything about it. So those are the 2 topics we're going to do today. Rachel, since you're here in spirit, well, and actually on the Book of Faces, if you want to add anything, just do it. Put it in the thing. Or send me a text. I have my phone here too. Okay. So, which order are we going to go in? I think we're gonna go with the managing up one first. So, I've always been really, I don't know if I'm good at managing up, but I've always been, I guess, what everybody told me was bossy. But I think I'm not bossy. I just I really know what I think I'm capable of. I know what I think other people are capable of. And I know what my principles and values are. And so at the beginning of the book, because I knew all of that stuff, at the beginning of the book, when I was really young, I'd say, but just listen to me because I'm good at getting shit done, right? GSD. I'm really good at getting it done. So just listen to me. And then the whoever's of the world would say, well, that's really nice, and I'm sure you are really good. I can tell. That's why I hired you. I know you're good at getting stuff done, but we're going to do it this way because we've done it that way. Or we're not going to do it that way because we've tried it and it didn't work. Or whatever. And that was always really frustrating me, and I couldn't figure out how to get through to people that I knew how to get something done. And then I decided and kind of realized that maybe I would just do some things. Because I'm definitely a fan of the asking for forgiveness and not permission. Now, that's because I'm chaos tolerant. And if I were order tolerant, I would really hate that. And so that's maybe not great advice for people who are order tolerant. But what is good advice for everybody is in this section, the part 3, propel. So if you feel like you're really good at getting stuff done, now that doesn't mean that you're chaos tolerant and you can go do the things, whatever. It means that you're good at getting stuff done. It doesn't matter what your culture type is. You're one of those people that always delivers. And it can seem really frustrating when you're delivering and the company is not, or your supervisor is not, or your team is not. And so in the 3rd section of the book, Propel, it talks about values and vision and accountability. So here's a common myth that you have to be in charge to actually get those things implemented into your life. Why is that a myth? That's a myth because your life is not the same thing as the whole organization. Everything has to start somewhere. Like all of the trees that are around the Black Hills had to have started with one tree, unless of course you subscribe to some different premise where some universal being booped all the trees onto the planet at once, and maybe that's a thing. I'm going to say, for the sake of argument in this conversation, that it's not. And that one tree seed had to be planted first before all of the other trees would grow up. But we get so anxious and so overwhelmed by, gee, our whole organization needs to be better. And yeah, of course, this is probably a true thing, but it all has to start somewhere. And if you know how best to start it because you have been educated in IX leadership and understand how it works and why culture types are important and how to see people through change, well, then why wouldn't it start with you? Okay, so if that's the thing we're going to do, if we're going to start that change and sort of manage up and manage around ourselves, how do we do that? If you're chaos tolerant, you'll just start talking to people. You'll start talking to people and say, hey, Shelly, what do you think about this thing or that thing? Now, one caveat to all of this is you cannot use your magical IX powers for bad. You have to use it for good. This is not to generate gossip and bad juju. So I'm pre-scolding you. Don't do that. But if you're chaos tolerant, you're going to go around and say to people, talk to people about what they like and what they don't love, and what things could be better in the organization, and what things would they be lost without. And start talking. You just go around and talk to people, especially if you're team driven. If you're independent, so you're chaos tolerant but you're self driven, you might do a lot of watching. You might not do a lot of talking to people, but you might do a lot of watching. And then once you feel like you've done enough watching, you start probably asking some questions, but they'll be probably pretty directed to certain people that you think you can glean some important information from. If you're a fixer, you're going to go talk to everybody. You might have a couple of town hall meetings. You'll invite people to have a beer after work and visit with you. If you're order tolerant, and we hear this from a lot of order tolerant people who say, oh gosh, I can't say that, or I can't do this. And I get it. I mean, I don't really get it because I'm not order tolerant, like not in any way really, but I do get the overwhelming sensation of it's not my place. I'm not even a victim necessarily, but it's not my place to make these decisions or say these things. But this is why the third section of the book is so important, because in your own life, in your own career, it's not just your place. You're the only person. You're the first person who needs to be saying something or sticking up for yourself or speaking up about something that's not really right or good or fair or comfortable or whatever word you want to use. So the mindset transition of all of this, particularly for order tolerant people, is this is not about the organization and what authority you have in that organization. It is about your life, and it's about your career. Now, does that mean you get to light your hair on fire and strip down and go run naked through the hallways of your organization and scream about the things you don't like? No. But it does mean that it's okay, and there are specific ways you can say, what do you think about doing something this way or that way, or why do we do it this way? That's perfectly acceptable. So if you're a stabilizer, you're probably going to talk to a lot of people, and you're going to go around and talk to people individually, and you're going to get all of that information and kind of soak it in and think about how something in your organization impacts everybody, not just yourself. And a lot of times as a stabilizer, you're so worried about everyone else that when you go check in with other people, you almost kind of forget or put your own needs and concerns on the back burner. So make sure that you keep your concerns at the top of your list. And so you're serving your primary intention, which is to have an authentic and amazing and comfortable, wonderful life at work. And then how do you help all the other people? As a stabilizer, don't fall into that trap of putting everyone else in front of you. They can be beside you or right behind you, but you're not pushing them up a hill. And then organizers are really good at just grinning and bearing it, because they're self-driven. They prefer to be sort of processing information on their own, and they're very order tolerant. So as long as there's order, there's some sort of order that they can cling on to. You're really good at saying, "Oh well, it's okay. I'll gut this out." So I would encourage the organizers in the room. Stabilizers can be pretty good at that too. I would encourage the organizers in the room to write down the things that really bother you about a certain situation that you feel like you don't have control over, and then write down the principles that you live by, or your core values that those issues are impeding. What is it about you as a person that those issues at work are bothering? Because then by doing that, you'll kind of disrupt your own set of order, and that won't feel good. So then you'll really feel an urge as an order tolerant person, particularly an organizer, to fix that problem. So the first step for anybody in managing up. So let's say you work in a huge organization, and there's several different sites, multi-sites, headquartered in one spot, sites kind of scattered all over the country or maybe international. And you think, well, we are just a drop in the bucket. It doesn't really matter what we say to corporate. And in a certain sense, it's not that it doesn't matter to them. It's just that they can't hear you. When you're in an organization like that, it's kind of like trying to deliver a message to someone who's on the other side of the Grand Canyon. They really, really, really might want to hear you, and they've got their hand to their ear, or they've went and got one of those little things called that you put up to your ear, and it's a big, well, whatever, the opposite of a megaphone, or using a megaphone the other way. But they're listening. They just literally can't hear you, and that's what it's like being in a big organization. It's pulled apart in many different directions. And so what I always encourage people who are in a multi-site facility or organization, what is the first thing you can impact in your own world? In your own world day to day. So is there an issue with everyone, how the clock-in system works? Is there an issue with I don't know, a leaky faucet? Is there an issue with the parking? Things like that. What things actually are kind of rubbing on people, yourself included, that you can fix right there, that corporate doesn't even need to know about or think about? Those are the tiny little things that actually start helping people clear their mind of all the garbage that's irritating them, so that they can then start making really good decisions. So the very first thing you should do is figure out what's really getting at you. And don't worry about fixing the problems for the whole organization or the whole corporation. What are the few things that you can really impact right there at home? Then the next trick besides that, so you get, those are the low-hanging fruits. Okay, so let's say we fill the potholes in the parking lot. Good luck with that this time of the year in South Dakota. Let's say we get a new faucet, and so that's not leaking anymore, and the time clock issue is fixed. Then those next things that are real systemic, seemingly systemic issues that an organization is struggling with, the next thing you should do is figure out, like I said earlier, figure out what those core values are. What are why, not what are the things that bother you, if you don't focus on those for just a second. Because those are easy to pick out, right? Like, we know the things that drive us crazy. Not what are the things that bother you, but why. Why do they bother you? And you can use the experience cube in the conflict resolution worksheet, which I think are files in this group. Shelley, will you write a note to make sure that the experience cube and conflict resolution sheet are in the files in Facebook? But those tools are ones that you can use to really kind of sit yourself down, you or a group of people, and say, okay, well, what are the things, what are the business aspects of things, and then what are the feelings, assumptions associated with those same things, that same situation. And so that's not saying we're putting the feelings and the assumptions aside. We're putting them in the place that they can live and breathe and be fine. So we kind of figuratively scream those into our pillow. And then once we let go of those emotions and feelings, and they've been dealt with, then you can start really thinking about the logic puzzle part of it. And so a lot of times you just get so angry about stuff, whether it's at work or at home, particularly at work, we get so angry about stuff, and then we're overwhelmed and we think we can't do anything about it, because who the heck am I to march into the CEO's office and tell him, by God, we're going to change this thing? That all that happens is you continue to be frustrated. And so if you manage those emotions and assumptions about what's going on, you then have a better opportunity to see the issue, the critical issues, not only from a business perspective and with a lot more logic, but also from others' perspectives. So the real cool thing about the Experience Cube and the Conflict Resolution Worksheet, and pairing them up with culture typing and the Christian's transition model, is that it gives you a more well-rounded and full perspective, and the opportunity to ask questions from those different perspectives, so you can really sort out why things happen the way they do, or why they're happening in your organization. So we've gotten rid of the low-hanging fruit, and we know why things are bothering us. What are those core values of ours then that are tied to those things that are bothering us? What is it actually about work that doesn't feel good to me? Is it me? Is it the person next to me? Is it 3 people over here? Is it somebody in Chicago? Is it the work that I'm doing, the kind of work that I'm doing? What's actually bothering you? And the best way to figure out what that is to define your core values and your principles. And then what about your environment is not lining up with those core values or principles? And once you figured all that out, you should give yourself a pat on the back and take a little bit of a break, because that's a lot of work, actually, to really level with yourself about things you don't like at work. Because the honest truth about all of this is that sometimes the revelation is, I don't really belong here. I don't like it here, or this isn't the kind of work for me. Maybe you're in a stabilizer position and you're actually a fixer. and there's not enough chaos in the day or what you might consider excitement, and you just feel bored. And so it's a lot of work to be really honest with yourself about what's going on. Or maybe it's that you love your job and you love your work and you even love the organization you work for, but you struggle to communicate with either a colleague or a supervisor. And now that you really have sat down with yourself and said, well, that's my issue, you then get to go talk to that person about it. And that's not comfortable for some folks, most people. So it's a lot of hard work to get to that point. So once you get to that point, take a deep breath and say, good job. I am ahead of the crowd because all the people in the world do not do this stuff. And then you have to start designing your plan for how you want to impact change. And there are lots of different ways that can happen, and it's really unique to each situation. One thing I will tell you is that you always have a choice. You always have the choice to make an impact. You might not always want to make one, but I'm telling you right now, for those of you, for earlier when I said you're not a victim, if you choose to do nothing, you're still making a choice, and that is a victim's choice. So for the people who have been working in a job, on a role, or within an organization for 20 years and they've done nothing but complain and constantly berate the role, berate the organization, talk crummy about the people that they worked with, they chose that. Your environment is perfectly designed by your actions. So this is where Meg tells you, you don't get to be the victim anymore. You get to make some choices that are healthy for you. So if you would like a little brush up on the victim loop, you can find that in the book somewhere. Let's see, there's the GSD triangle. Oh, here it is. Page 158 is about owning it in the accountability loop. And then, of course, the nasty victim loop, which we all find ourselves in once in a while, especially if we have an IT band issue and we're trying to train for a half marathon that is less than 3 weeks away. Okay, so once you've got all those things done, you have to start your plan. And then you have to make a choice. And your first choice has to be, what am I comfortable doing? Now, that doesn't mean that you have to be, what you decide to do doesn't have to be in your comfort zone. Maybe you decide, you know what? I think I want to move. Like, it's not the job, it's not the people, it's not the organization. I just want to move somewhere else, right? So it could be some crazy big chaotic change or chaotic choice, and that's fine. Or it could be something small, like maybe you need to put your desk in a different spot in your office because you never can see outside and you feel like it's a black hole in your office. But if in fact you face the window, you would feel better every day. So you get to make that first choice of what's comfortable for you. And what's comfortable for you might be different than it is for somebody else. So the person who's going to move is going to say to the person who's moving their desk, you're a lunatic, why don't you come with me? And the person who's moving their desk says, who's the lunatic? You just sold all your belongings and you're moving to China. You really don't know Mandarin. Like, what are you thinking? So we all have different preferences in what comfort looks like. And as you're making a choice to change, it's going to be a little uncomfortable no matter where you're at in the culture type matrix. So you're going to make a choice about what comfortable thing you can do first. I would say make it something you can bite off and action quickly. Now you could put like a whole year's worth of, and will put a whole year's worth of plan together about how you're going to make an impact in your organization or for yourself in your own life. But make sure you start with the first thing. So let's say what you really want to do is, let's say you work in a manufacturing company and you work in the raw materials warehouse. and you really know there is a better way, a process improvement for the way things are handled on the line. No one listens to you because you're new in the company. You've actually done this before. You've been in this kind of environment, but they're not listening to you because you just started 6 months ago. Okay? And so your goal is really just to lean up the process in your raw materials warehouse. So that's your big goal, right? So it might take you a year before you actually get that done. But what's the first thing that you're going to do? Is it develop a plan for someone to look at so that you can get it down on paper so you actually have something to show people? Is it to start talking to a few groups of people and getting some insight? Depends on your culture type as to how you might approach that. If you're self-driven, you're probably going to do a lot of upfront work on your own and then go talk to people. If you're team-driven, you're going to get a bunch of people together, maybe beers after work, or borrow the conference room, or talk to guys in the locker room before your shift starts, and start really talking about, hey, wouldn't it be better, Bill, if this happened this way and this happened that way? So it depends kind of what your culture type is as to what your first step is going to be, and that's okay. So figure out what that first step is going to be. And then set yourself some timelines and deadlines. What things are you going to do by when? And tell people that you're going to do those things, because the best thing you can do for yourself is tell other people what you're doing, because then you'll feel like you're going to commit to it. Accountability groups, whether it's working out or dieting and exercising, or in college you do a lot of group work, or in business there are teams of people. There's a reason for that. It's because then you will be accountable and do the things you say you're going to do. So say the words out loud about what you plan to do. And then as you build out your plan, start talking to people, and then you're going to have to start thinking about how you want to communicate up in those situations. And that has to be done really tactfully, which is why we started way back in the beginning with the experience cube. Because when we are all upset and frustrated and feel like nobody cares about us, we are not tactful. So that's why we've done that homework up front. We dealt with those emotions. We figured out everyone's different perspectives as much as we could understand them. Sorted out why the business is doing things the way they're doing them. And now we can start to communicate from a business perspective what it is that we think would improve the way business is being done. Or make life better for people in order to improve the way business is done. So the number one rule of engaging people is people love to talk about themselves and their experiences. And so the first thing you can do when you're starting a conversation, especially if it's a conversation about something that's a little bit uncomfortable or sticky, maybe has been discussed a ton, maybe if we're in the raw materials warehouse and we're talking about lean production and we're talking about leaning up the production even more, and supervisors say, we've tried everything, we've done it all, we've brought in consultants and we've put in new software programs and blah, blah, blah. This is as good as it's going to get. Let them talk about those experiences to you again. That might be a little exhausting, a little exasperating, but really help them feel like and think that you understand their perspective. That's what takes the combat out of a conversation. When people trust that you actually understand where they're coming from, they stop trying to convince you that they're right. And so let's say you go to your supervisor and you say, hey, Jim, remind me again why we do this thing the way we do. Now, in Meg's make-believe world, Jim's going to say, oh, well, geez, Meg, I'd love to sit down with you and tell you that. That's not what's going to happen. Jim might say, I've told you this 100 times, Meg. I don't know why you keep asking. It's fine. Be ready for that. It's not like all of this magic up front work is going to make the back end magical too. It will be easier. It may not be magical like unicorns. So you say, okay, yeah, Jim, I know. Just humor me and tell me again why we do it. Okay. All right. Yep. That's why we do it that way. That makes sense. Use things like that to help them understand that you get why they made those decisions. Because the reality is you weren't there when those decisions were made. And so there might have been a really good reason at that point in time that those decisions were made. So yeah, okay, well that makes sense for that spot and in that point in time. And just keep asking engaging questions so that they know you're interested, they know you care about what they've done in the past, and that you're not necessarily challenging that they've made bad decisions. You're wondering if there's a better way to improve the process. Your focus always has to be on process improvement. It is never about who's right, who's wrong, what people did what at what time. It is about improving the process. And then you just have to keep working at it. But remember, in this scenario where managing up seems impossible, the reason you're doing it is to serve you primarily in your career. You're not trying to change the world. You're not trying to change the organization. You're not trying to change other people. You are trying to create one that feels good for you. So if you flip that mindset or rotate that mindset a little bit so that you're not feeling so overwhelmed like you have to try and change the world, then it doesn't feel like you have to figure out how to be Captain America or Captain Marvel or any of the other superheroes. Okay, the other topic, of course, is work-life balance. This has a lot to do, I think, with the victim loop and accountability loop, sort of, directly and indirectly. I'm getting more notes. Ooh. Okay, wait a minute. This is the tie? Okay. I get it. Oh, we have to announce today who is the big winner of inviting people to our closed Facebook group. We put out a challenge last week. I will tell you right now, it was a tie. And that's all I'm going to tell you right now. Okay, so work-life balance. There's a lot of victim loop, accountability loop stuff that goes into the mindset that's required to kind of get out of this work-life balance funk. So we say it's all life, that there's no such thing as work-life balance. The trick is to figure out what is good, what works for you. So a couple of scenarios there. One is you're self-employed or you work remotely, and you have an opportunity to, or you work for an organization that has really flexible schedules, and you have an opportunity to sort of dictate what balance and excitement looks like in your life. The other scenario is you don't have those opportunities. You work for an organization that either has not flexible schedules, or the work that needs to be done actually requires you to be at a certain place doing a certain thing for a certain amount of time. So let's say you're a teller at a bank. Well, if you're a teller at a bank, the bank is open from 8 to 5 or whatever. And when people show up to the bank, they expect that there's a teller there to take their money or give them money. If you're that person, you have to be there. If you, on the other side of the coin, if you are a consultant and you have a business, then you get to dictate what your schedule looks like, which sometimes is not as glorious as it seems, just so you know. So work-life balance is really just about what balance is there in your life. And let's say you have, let's say you're just working your tail off. Let's say you have 2 jobs and you're getting a master's. And you're just thinking, I can't ever get ahead. What am I going to do about this? Well, I'll remind you, the person who makes the best decisions for yourself or has the best opportunity to make decisions for yourself is you. So you get to decide what that looks like. And if you've already decided to be, say, in those 2 jobs and getting your master's degree, well, all 3 of those things serve you in some way. So first, I would say be grateful for the things that you are doing in your life. Because even if it's hard, it's benefiting you somehow. It's either benefiting you because it's putting food on your table, or it's advancing your career, or it's advancing your health, or your wellness, or your financial wellness. The things that you're doing in your life, you're doing for a reason. If you cannot figure out what that reason is, you need to reevaluate what you're doing in your life. So be thankful for the things that you have and the opportunities that you have. That's the first best way. Gratitude is the first best way to alleviate that feeling of stress when you're super busy and you're feeling overwhelmed. The other thing I would say about work-life balance or balancing your life is if it's unbalanced, it's your choice to change that. Now, you might work a couple of those jobs that are shift work, and your master's, your papers that are due for your classes are due when they're due. But what things can you build in those little pieces of spare time that make you feel less crazy? And remember that it really only takes about 10 minutes for the human brain to de-stress. I don't have any scientific facts around that. There are probably several. I'm sure there's lots of research about it. But if you think about it, let's say imagine the biggest day you've had, stressful day you've had in the last 3 months. And you went home and you thought, oh my gosh, I just have to sit down. I could probably just, whatever, drink a beer, eat some chocolate, have a glass of wine, and sleep for the rest of the night. And you eat the chocolate and you drink the wine, and you're not making dinner, and you're not doing anybody's laundry, and you're not taking the dog for a walk. And then 10 minutes later, you're like, okay, maybe I will take the dog for a walk. I guess it'll be fine. I'm going to be fine. So 10 minutes is about all you need to sort of de-stress and re-level yourself. So what are you going to do with that 10 minutes? The other thing I would say is don't feel guilty about the things that actually de-stress, declutter your brain and de-stress your life. Maybe it's Facebook. Mindless Facebook trolling just because you want to see what other people are doing. Maybe it's reading the news. Maybe it's reading a book. Maybe it is walking the dog. Maybe it's playing with your kids. Maybe it's other things that I didn't mention and I don't want to know about. I don't care what it is. Nobody else cares what it is. Do the thing that serves you. I used to have this weird, anyway, that's a long story, but I used to have this sort of weird, not phobia, what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, I didn't like to be on social media because it made me feel guilty, like I was wasting time. You are not wasting time. If you are spending time on yourself, you are not wasting time. If yourself feels like it needs time spent on it, you are not wasting time. If yourself feels like it needs time spent on it, and you try and do something else, and then you fail at doing that thing, or you really end up doing something else that's not serving you, that is wasting time. I can't tell you how many times in the history of my life, adult life, I think, I got to get this cake made for a birthday party, or I have to get this report done, or I have to fix this really big problem that I have with technology, Rachel, that I don't know how to do, but I'm going to try and do it. And you're so overwhelmed, you don't make the cake right because you forget baking soda or something crazy. You can't even read the words on the computer screen to figure out how to fix the problem. That is your body and your brain telling you it does not have the capacity for that right at the moment. So take the time. It's 10 minutes. Maybe it's 10 minutes every day, and you do whatever the thing is. And while I'll say consistency is super important, it's only as important as it's important to you. So for those of us who are chaos tolerant, consistency to me is like doing something more than not in a week. Like if I run more days than I don't run in a week, that's consistency for me. For other folks who are order tolerant, consistency might sound more like I go to the gym at the same time every day after dinner at 6:30, and I spend an hour there, and I have this is what I do, and then I go home and I shower and I get ready for bed. That could be consistency for you, whatever that looks like. And if it's not consistent, don't feel guilty about that either. It's better to be consistent with yourself and your routines. But if you're a chaos tolerant person, chances are you're not going to be consistent like the world thinks you should be. That's okay. So I think the real trick about work-life balance, as it were, or just balance in your life is that the number one thing to remember is you are choosing the way your life feels. So if you don't like how it feels, you get to choose to make it different. And even if there are lots of things that are not variable, they're fixed. Those 2 jobs and that master's degree are fixed. You still have an opportunity to manage those other hours of the day that and help yourself feel refreshed, de-stressed, decluttered. Okay, that's my rant for the day. I didn't get any other comments. Oh, that's not my mouse. I didn't see. Oh, wait a minute. There's all kinds of stuff. Okay, no other questions. Well, except for Malik asked another question, but I'm not sure what that's about. Not a leader. Malik, if you're still on, you can tell me what your question means. And I'm going to announce the winners of these fabulous compasses. So Rachel could drone on for hours about the fanciness of this compass, but what I'll say is it has directions. It's a real working compass because that's what compasses do. It also has the road not taken by Robert Frost on the outside. This way is the camera. Yes. And it has our Rose Group logo on the other side. Fancy. These fine compasses go out to a couple of fabulous IX ambassador folks in the group who invited the most people who accepted the invitation into the group in the last week. And those 2 people are, that's bad, Michaela Hallam and Kristen Gilfeather. Congratulations, ladies. You will be receiving a fancy compass from the Rose Group. Thank you so much for sharing IX leadership with the world. We probably will do another contest. Did we say we were going to do this through the month of May? Oh. Ooh, we're going to do another one in June, Shelley just told me. So make sure you keep inviting people to join. Make sure you keep an eye out for that link to the project management courses and also to the IX certification courses that will be starting in June. Project management, week of May 20th. IXAF is starting in the beginning of June. Project management is in Rapid City. IXAF is online and video conference, so you do not need to be present to participate. Well, you do, but only online, like not in a certain geographic area. I'm going to close today with a ridiculous joke that my 9-year-old told me, because she and I have one thing in common, and that's our wonderful sense of humor. Ooh, I wonder if I can remember it. Yeah, I think. Why did the turtle cross the road? Any guesses, Shelley? So he wouldn't get towed. I don't know. It's punny. It doesn't really make any sense. That's why it was super funny when the 9-year-old told me. Okay, well, I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your day and that it's not snowing where you are. I hope pretty soon it's not snowing where I am. Lead powerfully, change the world. Bye for now.